Hello students. Now today we have to start with the chapter number 3, drainage. Now students, it is again very important chapter. In this chapter basically we'll study about the river systems, about the various rivers which are mainly available in India. Right? So drainage is basically very important chapter because it is one of the important resource, or we can say it is one of the important natural resource of India. So students, in this chapter drainage, we will have to study basics. First of all, we will study the meaning of drainage, or we can say first we will introduce the meaning of this chapter drainage. Then we have to start with the drainage system in India, right? So various drainage systems in India means we are having that we have to start like peninsular rivers, or we can say Himalayan rivers, right? Then we are having drainage drainage patterns. In this basically we will study that how these rivers, or in which all pattern these rivers basically flow, right? ये ऐसे कुछ patterns हैं जिनमें ये rivers flow करती हैं, right? After that we have to discuss several lakes of India which are basically mainly originated in in India, right? Then we have to do the role of rivers in the economy. मतलब ये rivers हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था में क्या importance रखती हैं, that we have to also discuss in this chapter. Then means these rivers, they are getting polluted just because of several human activities, right? So we have to also discuss about the river pollution. And one more important thing which is nowadays running, that is National River Conservation Plan, which is NC, which is basically we used to call NRCP, National River Conservation Plan, means how we can conserve these rivers. So government have launched these plans to conserve water resources, or to conserve these natural resources of India. So in this chapter basically means the introduction part, which is the main part of this chapter, means now we have to study that what is drainage. यहाँ पर ये समझना बहुत important है कि drainage है क्या, right? So we can say that term drainage is basically describe the flow of water through well defined channels is known as drainage. मतलब जो पानी है वो एक अपने defined channel के अंदर जब flow करता है उसको हम drainage बोलते हैं. तो जैसे हम ड्रेनेज का हम एग्जांपल ले सकते हैं कि हमारा जो सीवेज सिस्टम है वो भी ड्रेनेज का पार्ट है. सो बेसिकली द टर्म ड्रेनेज इट डिस्क्राइब्स द फ्लो ऑफ वाटर थ्रू वेल डिफाइंड चैनल. मतलब एक अपने कोर्स के अंदर जब पानी बहता है उसको हम ड्रेनेज बोलते हैं, राइट? सो ड्रेनेज सिस्टम ऑफ एन एरिया, राइट, और वी कैन से ड्रेनेज सिस्टम. नाउ व्हाट इज ड्रेनेज सिस्टम? Drainage system means basically when a river is flowing with its tributaries and distributaries, or we can say network of drainage channel is basically called drainage system. जब एक पूरा नेटवर्क बनता है ट्रिब्यूटरीज का और उसकी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटरीज का, तो उस नेटवर्क का पूरा कंप्लीट जो चैनल है उस चैनल को हम ड्रेनेज सिस्टम बोलते हैं. So I hope you understand the definition of drainage. Drainage is basically the term which basically describes the flow of water through well defined channel is called drainage, and we can say network of well defined drainage channel is basically called drainage system. Then means we can say that Ganga is one of the largest drainage river in India, and it is the world's one of the largest drainage river in India. So Ganga is basically the main river of India, or we can say it is the largest river of India. Why we used to call Ganga as largest river of India? Because its main flowing part mainly lies in our country, means in the territory of our country. That's why we used to call Ganga is the largest river of India, right? Now students, what is water divide? It is basically a term which basically we used in drainage system, right? Now what is water divide? Water divide basically we can say it is basically the uplifted part due to which two streams they got diverted from one another. So basically water divide means it is uplifted part we can call. ये uplifted part है आपका जो ऊंचा उठा हुआ है. इस ऊंचे उठे हुए पार्ट की वजह से स्ट्रीम ए यू कैन कॉल और स्ट्रीम बी यू कैन कॉल. मतलब एक रिवर और दो रिवर, ये दोनों रिवर सेपरेट हो जाती हैं किसकी वजह से? अपलिफ्टेड पार्ट की वजह से. तो इन अपलिफ्टेड पार्ट की वजह से, और वी कैन से ड्यू टू द वाटर डिवाइड्स, वी कैन ऑल्सो हैव ओरिजिन ऑफ वी कैन से ट्रिब्यूटरीज और distributaries. So water divide plays very important role in the drainage pattern, or in the drainage system. right? So water divide means it is basically the uplifted part which divides two streams into two parts called water divide. Then means the world's we can say largest drainage basin, that is Amazon river. As we all know that, right? So next, that is drainage system in India. Now students, drainage system in India, it is basically, or we can say it is mainly controlled by board relief features of subcontinent, and we have divided drainage system of India into two major groups. The one that is Himalayan rivers, and second one that is peninsular rivers, right? So Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers, or we can say basically we have divided the drainage system on the basis of originating sources, right? So means on the basis, means on, or we can say that from which physiographic division we are having the origin of these two major groups. We can also divide these drainage systems on the basis of, we can say, major sources of originating of physiographic regions. So we have two major groups, that is Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers. Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers, they are having several features. So we can say that most of the Himalayas, or we can say most of the Himalayan rivers, they are basically not most of the, means all the Himalayan rivers, they are perennial, right? We can say that all the Himalayan rivers, they are perennial. Basically, what is the meaning of perennial? We can call permanent rivers which flow throughout the year, right? And the main source of water of Himalayan rivers, that is basically we can call melting ice and glaciers एज वेल एज रेनफॉल. मतलब जो हिमालयन रिवर्स हैं इनमें पानी कहाँ से आता है? तो रेनफॉल से भी पानी आता है, और जो आइस और ग्लेशियर्स जो मेल्ट हो रहे हैं हिमालयाज में, उनकी वजह से भी यहाँ पर पानी आता है. इसलिए हम कहते हैं इनको पेरेनियल, जो पूरे साल भर बहते हैं. दे फ्लो थ्रू आउट द ईयर in the same direction, right? So two major Himalayan rivers, Indus and Brahmaputra, they originate from, we can say, north of mountain ranges. ये जो इंडस और ब्रह्मपुत्र है, ये हमारी जो हिमालयाज हैं उसके नॉर्थ पार्ट से ओरिजिनेट होती हैं, right? We'll discuss that from where these rivers originated, right? But mainly we can say that these rivers, they are originating from the northern part of the means Himalayan mountain ranges, and basically they have cut through mountain mountains or and making gorges. Now what is gorge? Gorge, we can say that when means gorge हम बोल सकते हैं, गड्ढा बोल सकते हैं, जिसको हिंदी में महागढ़ बोलते हैं, right? So gorges basically they are the main result of the rivers, means basically it mainly lies in between two Himalayas, right? So gorges जो दो हिमालयाज के बीच में जो गड्ढा बनाती हैं ये rivers, इरोजनल एक्टिविटी की वजह से, उनको हम गॉर्जेस बोलते हैं. आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड, राइट? सो दीज हिमालयन रिवर्स, दे आर हैविंग टू मच लॉन्ग कोर्सेस एज वेल, मीन्स बहुत बड़ा एरिया ये फ्लो करती हैं और सी पार्ट में जाके मिलती हैं. तो गॉर्जेस स्टूडेंट्स, अभी जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि दो हिमालयन पार्ट हैं, और दो हिमालयन पार्ट के पास बीच में जो आपका गड्ढा जो बनता है इरोजनल एक्टिविटी की वजह से, जब ये रिवर्स हाई एलिवेशन से, बहुत ऊंची हाइट से जब ये नीचे फॉल करती हैं, तो ये क्या बनाती हैं? गॉर्ज बनाती हैं, राइट? तो इनको हम महागढ़ भी बोलते हैं, राइट? देन ड्रेनेज सिस्टम इन इंडिया. Now see, the means basically we can say that means these rivers, they perform or they used to do heavy erosional activities in the upper courses, because they basically fall from high altitude regions, and they basically used to carry heavy loads of silt and sand material with them, right? So in the middle, or we can say in the lower courses, these rivers, they form meanders, or we can say they form oxbow lakes. Now what are meanders, what are oxbow lakes? I'll tell you, and many other depositional features in their flood plains. तो ये अलग अलग मीन्स अलग अलग फीचर्स डेवलप करती हैं रिवर्स. तो इसका जो सोर्स ऑफ वाटर है, वहां पर ये रिवर्स का जो कोर्स एरिया है वो बहुत छोटा होता है, ठीक है? जैसे ही ये रिवर्स हमारे भावर रीजन, जो हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया था चैप्टर 1 में, वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस भावर, तराई और वी कैन से एलुवियल प्लेन रीजन्स. तो जैसे ही ये इन रीजन्स में आती हैं रिवर्स, इनका कोर्स बढ़ जाता है, मीन्स द कोर्स ऑफ दीज रिवर्स, और वी कैन से द ड्रेनेज एरिया बेसिकली इंक्रीजेस when they enters into plain regions, or we can say when they enters into tarai or alluvial plain region, right? And they also make big deltas, they also make large deltas, or we can say that they developed large deltas. तो ये deltas किससे बनाती हैं? silt material, eroded material से ये delta बनाती हैं. कहाँ पर? coastal areas के अंदर. तो आप देखिए यहाँ पर अगर हम डिस्कस करें यहाँ पर, तो ये कि देखिए यहाँ पर अगर हम रिवर्स की बात करते हैं तो ये हमारा इनका सोर्स ऑफ वाटर है. सो बेसिकली हेयर वी आर हैविंग सोर्स ऑफ वाटर, right? So it is basically, we can say, the upper part of this river, right? And here we are having lower part of the river. Now word here we are having that the word here basically we are having that is we can call meanders. Now what are meanders? Meanders जो rivers ये uplands और lowlands की वजह से जो इनमें कर्व बनते हैं, ये कर्व हमारे, इनको हम क्या बोलते हैं? meanders, right? These curves, they are basically called as meanders. Then oxbow lakes. Oxbow lake means due to the depositional work of silt and sand materials of these rivers, they sometimes create lakes also. तो oxbow lake क्या होती है कि जब ये rivers यहाँ पर सेपरेट एक लेक टाइप में जनरेट कर देती हैं और बीच में क्या हो जाता है, सिल्ट मटेरियल आ जाता है, फिर ये रिवर्स का ये इस तरीके से मेंडर्स बन जाते हैं. तो यहाँ सेपरेटली जब ये रिवर्स इस तरीके से लेक जनरेट करती हैं, दे आर कॉल्ड ऑक्सबो लेक्स. These rivers also make riverine islands, right? So Himalayan rivers, they are also making riverine islands, like means Brahmaputra river is making Manjuli as riverine island. मीन्स रिवर के बीच में आइलैंड जो बनता है, जिसके चारों तरफ से रिवर निकलती है, उसको हम बोलते हैं रिवराइन आइलैंड्स. और ये यहाँ पर ये क्या है, ये आपका डेल्टा है. तो ये रिवर्स जब ओशियन पार्ट या फिर सी बॉडी के अंदर जब ये मिलती हैं तो वहां पर डेल्टा बनाती हैं. और हिमालयन रिवर्स वर्ल्ड के लार्जेस्ट डेल्टा बनाने के लिए फेमस है. सो हिमालयन रिवर्स, दे आर मेकिंग द वर्ल्ड्स लार्जेस्ट डेल्टा विच इज ऑल्सो नोन एज सुंदरबन डेल्टा, राइट? एंड डेल्टा इज ऑलवेज अवेलेबल इन triangular shape. So I hope you understand the basic structure of river. So upper part, that is source of water, then we can say upper lands, then we are having meanders, then we are having oxbow lakes, then we are having lower part, and at the end we can say that is basically we can call mouth of the river. So this is basically the end part of the river, right? So now next means these are basic features of, we can say, Himalayan rivers. Now how we can compare these drainage systems of India? So basically we have to differentiate between Himalayan rivers or peninsular rivers. Now how we can differentiate Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers? Means peninsular rivers, they are basically seasonal. Seasonal means the main source of water of peninsular rivers is basically rainfall, or we can say in the rainy season only these peninsular rivers mainly active. We found mainly active. And Himalayan rivers, they are basically, we can say, they are having main source of water, that is melting ice and glaciers, or we can say rainfall, right? So during dry seasons, or we can say during summers, these peninsular rivers, they become dry, or we can say the Himalayan rivers, they flow throughout the year. But peninsular rivers, they are shorter in length as compared to Himalayan rivers. Peninsular rivers छोटी हैं Himalayan rivers के comparison में, right? But peninsular rivers are also basically, we can say, they played very important role, and they mainly originate from the peninsular part of India. So Himalayan rivers, they originate from Himalayas. Peninsular rivers, they originate from peninsular India, right? So basically we can say that peninsular rivers, they also originate from Central Highlands, or we can say the most of the peninsular rivers, they mainly fall into Bay of Bengal, and some of the peninsular rivers, they fall towards, or they move towards, or they flow towards western side and fall into Arabian Sea. So means we can say that some of the Himalayan rivers also, they flow towards Arabian Sea, and some of the means Himalayan rivers, they fall towards Bay of Bengal. So maximum rivers, or we can say 99% rivers of India, they basically fall into Bay of Bengal, but some rivers, they also fall into Arabian Sea. So Himalayan rivers, they do more erosional activities, as well as they are making more gorges, or we can say deep valleys. But peninsular rivers, they do not make deep valleys, but we can say they make wide valleys, right? So that is basically, we can say, that is the difference between Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers. Now next टॉपिक, दैट इज ड्रेनेज पैटर्न. ड्रेनेज पैटर्न मतलब इसमें आपकी जो रिवर्स हैं वो किस पैटर्न के अंदर फ्लो कर रही हैं आपकी. सो बेसिकली वी आर हैविंग 4 ड्रेनेज पैटर्न्स. The first one, that is dendritic pattern. Dendritic pattern is basically, we can say, it is that pattern like when rivers they flow like which basically resembles like branches of a tree. मतलब एक पेड़ के जैसे branches की तरह ये rivers flow करती हैं. जैसे एक branch में से दूसरी branch निकली, दूसरी branch में से तीसरी branch निकली. So these rivers they flows with the slope of terrain. So ये terrain slope के accordingly ये rivers flow करती हैं and they always resemble like the branches of tree. For example, the rivers which are basically flowing in northern plain area. So these are the basic example of dendritic drainage pattern system. Then second one that we are having, that is trellis pattern. Trellis pattern means basically it is we can say means in this pattern basically tributaries or whatever distributaries, they are basically originated or may be joined that particular main course of rivers at right angle. तो जो कोई भी tributary या distributary right angle पर जब किसी मेन रिवर को उसको ज्वाइन करती है, वो हमारा कौन सा होता है, ट्रेलिस पैटर्न होता है. एंड इट मेनली एग्जिस्ट ऑन हार्ड एंड सॉफ्ट रॉक विच इज बेसिकली पैरेलल टू ईच अदर. तो ये ट्रिब्यूटरीज एक दूसरे के पैरेलल चलती है बट दे ज्वाइंस एट 90 डिग्री एंगल्स ओनली. सो एग्जांपल्स मींस द रिवर्स व्हिच आर फ्लोइंग बेसिकली इन दिस पैटर्न, दे आर बेसिकली वी कैन से हिमालयन रिवर्स, they are basically flowing in trellis pattern. Rectangular, this is the third drainage pattern which we have to do. That basically rectangular pattern we used to found, or it mainly develops on strongly joined rock terrain systems, or we can say strongly joined terrain slopy regions. So we can say the rivers which are flowing from Vindhyachal mountain ranges, they are basically flowing in rectangular pattern. So instead of rectangular pattern, we can also describe that centripetal drainage pattern. So centripetal drainage pattern, we can say that if we are having any catchment area, right, catchment area is basically we can call a large water reservoir. So catchment area, in that catchment area, if any force applies and due to that force when water means diverted in all directions, so this is basically called centripetal ड्रेनेज पैटर्न. तो इस पैटर्न में भी अगर कोई हमारे रिवर्स फ्लो करती है उनको हम सेंट्रीपिटल ड्रेनेज सिस्टम बोलते हैं. राइट, देन नेक्स्ट वी आर हैविंग दैट इज रेडियल ड्रेनेज पैटर्न. रेडियल ड्रेनेज पैटर्न, दिस इज द लास्ट ड्रेनेज पैटर्न. बेसिकली वी यूज्ड टू फाउंड रेडियल ड्रेनेज पैटर्न इन अमरकंटक हिली रीजन. सो अमरकंटक हिली रीजन बेसिकली मेकिंग बाउंड्री बिटवीन मध्य प्रदेश एंड छत्तीसगढ़. सो बेसिकली दीज रिवर्स originated from hill and fall in all the directions. मतलब ये हिल से ओरिजिनेट होती हैं और हिल से ओरिजिनेट होने के बाद में ये किसी भी डायरेक्शन में ये फ्लो कर सकती हैं. सो रेडियल ड्रेनेज पैटर्न, इन दिस वी कैन ऑल्सो टेक एग्जांपल ऑफ रेडियल टायर्स which we used to found in front wheel of bikes और स्कूटीज. तो रेडियल टायर में क्या होता है, रेडियल टायर में जब आप देखोगे तो इस तरीके से हमारा जो टायर होता है उसमें एक सेंटर में लाइन होती है और सेंटर में लाइन के साथ साथ में इस तरीके से हमारी उसमें लाइंस ज्वाइन होती है. तो सेम इसी पैटर्न में हमारा रेडियल ड्रेनेज पैटर्न हमारा अवेलेबल होता है. तो अमरकंटक हिली रीजन से जितने भी रिवर्स हमारी फ्लो करती हैं, जैसे नर्मदा होगी, महानदी रिवर होगी, दीज रिवर्स बेसिकली फ्लोइंग इन रेडियल ड्रेनेज पैटर्न. सो दीज वर बेसिकली वी कैन से फ्यू ड्रेनेज पैटर्न्स इन इंडिया मेनली अवेलेबल. The next important thing, that is lakes. So in India we are having so many freshwater lakes, so many we can say saltwater lakes, and lakes, these are basically we can say attractive, or we can say these are basically attracting tourism nowadays. So thousands of people, they are going nearby the lakes for the tourism activities or for we can say recreational activities in these areas. So people enjoyed boating, swimming, or we can say some water games in the lakes. So lakes, they are basically we can say that they are mainly we can say that they are helping in the growth of economic condition, or we can say they are helping in the growth of GDP of the country, because nowadays tourism is also contributing at large in our GDP. So lakes, they are playing very important role in Srinagar or we can say Nainital, means they are basically we can say tourist hubs in hilly regions, and these regions are also having important lakes. These are basically we can say these are attractive places for the tourism. Right. So apart from attraction of tourists, lakes are also useful for the human beings in many ways. Means we can use water for irrigation purpose, we can use water for domestic purpose also. So it is also helping means human beings in many ways, not only for the tourism activities. Like, so lakes basically these are the smallest portion of seas, and we can say the large extent of lakes we can call बेसिकली सीज. मतलब लेक से जो बड़ा जो कैचमेंट एरिया होता है उसको हम सी बोल देते हैं, और सी से जो बड़ा कैचमेंट एरिया होता है उसको हम ओशन बोल देते हैं. तो लेक एक छोटा कैचमेंट एरिया है, उससे बड़ा हम सी बोल सकते हैं, उससे बड़ा हम ओशियन बोल सकते हैं, राइट. सो इंडिया इज हैविंग सो मेनी लेक्स, and these lakes they are basically having so many features, or we can say characteristics, and according to we can say according to size also we can differentiate these lakes, and according to some characteristics also we can differentiate these lakes. Some of the lakes they are permanent, जिनके अंदर पूरे साल भर पानी रहता है, and some of the lakes they are seasonal, जिनके अंदर basically हम कह सकते हैं कि रेनी सीजन के अंदर पानी रहता है. So some of the lakes they are also providing drainage waterway system, or basically we can say inland drainage waterway system. Some of the lakes we are having also available in semi arid regions, which basically contain more salt, like in Rajasthan we are having Sambal lake, right. So basically we can say that these lakes can be divided on the basis of availability of water sources, like one one we can categorize freshwater lake, another one we can categorize as saltwater lakes, right. So means important we can say that some of the important lakes, and some due to meandering in the river, means meandering, it is important feature of river. Due to meandering activities also we can say some of the lakes they have been originated, and we can say that due to strip, or we can say bars of lagoons in the coastal areas also we have obtained so many lakes. Like we are having some important lakes in the coastal area, the Chilka lake which we are having in Odisha, then we are having Pulikat lake in Tamil Nadu, then Koleru lake in Andhra Pradesh. These are the important coastal lakes in India which we are having. So I have also given you example related to Sambal lake which is in Rajasthan. This is basically the saltwater lake. So we can say that what in this lake water is basically used to produce salt, right. So in Rajasthan we are not having ocean part, but here we are having more erosional activities due to the heavy temperature, due to high temperature. Due to that this evaporation activity we are making salt in Sambal lake also. So some of the most of the freshwater lakes they are available in the Himalayan region, or we can say which are basically having their source from glacier regions. They are basically the freshwater lakes. So glaciers means from the glaciers we can say the water dug out from the basin and which filled with we can say water in the lakes, right. So Vular lake in Jammu and Kashmir, it is basically we can say Vular lake, it is basically the result of tectonic activity which has been formed in Srinagar, and this is the one of the largest, or we can say this is the largest freshwater lake in India. So Vular lake, it is very important, it is attracting too much tourism also, it is also providing too much help to the human activities also, or for the human beings, right. Some important freshwater lakes we are having, the Dal lake we are having, that is in Jammu and Kashmir, then Bhimtal lake that we are having in Uttarakhand, then Nainital lake that is in Uttarakhand, Loktak lake, it is in northeastern state Manipur. So these are the important freshwater lakes which are having available in India, and these are attracting too much tourism, or we can say these lakes they are having too much economic importance in our country. So government is also taking too much initiatives for developing these kind of lakes, or we can say in the regions of nearby the lakes, right.
To watch the complete video, download the Upbind educational app from Play Store and App Store.